Hello, and welcome to another Thursday practice session. We're going to be working on four corners today, and let's start by just doing the bear for a minute. Use this time to get in touch with how it feels inside. So while you're doing this, pay a lot of attention to the motion. Really watch it play out through the whole body. Of course, paying attention to the posture points, the rear crown of the head as if suspended, so that you feel space inside the body hanging down. Being suspended from above means that you hang down rather than that you push up. Hanging down will give you a feeling of more space inside the body. That's what you're trying to get. Like somebody's holding on to the rear crown of your head, and they've just lowered you till your feet reach the ground. So your feet just barely reach down to the ground. And that means that in the neck, and the torso, and the hips, and the legs, there's space. Space inside. And since your feet have just touched on the ground, they're quiet on the ground. The tripod on each foot stays connected, even as the weight shifts. The feet don't roll around at all. Doing the whole turn off of one leg. The hip that's closing draws you towards that leg, and weight shifts into that leg. Don't try to shift the weight, just let the turning all on one leg cause the weight to shift. And letting your mind rest in the Dantian. This will help you actually pay attention to the whole motion. If the mind is busy chattering, you'll miss parts of what you're doing. So let the mind come into the Dantian. Let everything be calm, resting on that meditation cushion in your center. And relaxing everything. Whole body. Another couple swings. Great. So I want to do the shoulder rolls because we really want to get our shoulders loosened up. Because when we're working our four corners, it's one of the moves where the hands are high. Right? A lot of moves the hands are lower, ward off, or even push for that matter. But in four corners, they're all the way up, both of them. White crane, one of the hands is high, but the other is low. And what this means is that you've really got to get the shoulders loose so that doing that doesn't pull you out of the ground. And you can see, if you watch me here, I'm doing fine. Right about here, see my shoulders start lifting. And as I come up, that whole thing pulls me out of the ground. I'm not really connected anymore. From here then, I can sink and relax. And of course you should do that if you notice that everything has raised. And when I do that, it lets all of the weight drop back down into the ground. But I'd rather never have that thing happen in the first place. And so I think it really helps to understand the anatomy of how the shoulders work, because they're actually really cool. At the end of this practice session, we'll run a minute or two of pictures from one of our favorite anatomy books, Calais-Germain's anatomy of movement. And that can help you actually see how all of the bones and everything fit together. But, the way it works is you've got your spine in the back, and we tend to think of our shoulders as being attached to the spine, but they're not. They're free-floating. And so the spine is there, the ribs come around, you've got your sternum here that all of the ribs connect to, and then you've got your collarbones. And so find your collarbone, take your hand and actually run it along here until you find it, and move your arm around and feel that you can feel the collarbone actually moving as you do this. And then do it on the other side too, so that you get both of them. And actually go ahead and trace the bone, go ahead and feel it where it goes up to the shoulder, and then move the shoulder and see how much that bone moves. So we tend to not be very aware of our collarbones, unless of course you break one of them, and then you're real aware of it. And we tend to think of the shoulders as kind of coming from the sides and connected to the back, but they're not. The collarbone connects to the sternum here, and then it runs over, and it makes a little socket together with the shoulder blades, the scapula. The shoulder blades are like hanging over your shoulders like this, and the collarbone runs in like this, and that makes a little socket that the upper bone of the arm fits in. So the arm is actually very loosely connected to the rest of the skeleton through the front here, through the collarbone that goes to the sternum. The sternum's hanging off of the ribs actually connect to the spine so that everything's in there. So what that means is our shoulders are super mobile, which is really cool. That's why we're able to do all of this stuff with the arms. And you'll often hear us talking about conceptualizing that you've got another joint in the body, that the shoulders begin here at the Giagi point, the spinal clip, and that there's another segment of the arm that runs from the middle of the spine there and the Giagi point to the shoulder, and then there's a second segment that runs down and a third segment that runs out to the wrist. A lot of times we just think of the arms as having two segments, the upper arm and the lower arm, and we forget about all of this mobility of the shoulder and that visualization that the arm has this third segment here, which is not actually mechanical because, as I just said, it's attached on the front. But that visualization of the arm as having a third segment will give you more freedom in them. So we're going to do the shoulder rolls, and in the shoulder rolls, you're shifting in and out of a 70-30, and move the shoulder that goes with the front leg, not the back leg. Somehow this is confusing, and when we do this, people try to move the back shoulder. Move the front shoulder, and what I want you to do is move it all the different directions. It can come towards your center, right? So this doesn't involve any raising at all, and it can go towards your back. So just do that a little bit. Take both arms and bring your shoulders in forward, so that you feel that this whole thing has actually come in. And when you do that, you might go ahead and feel your collarbones and see how they're probably kind of sticking out. And now take the shoulders back towards your spine so that you're really opening the chest here. That's a motion in the shoulder moving back and forth. They can go up and down too. They can go towards your ears, right? This thing that when you started doing Tai Chi might have been your base state of the shoulders held up, and then they can sink down and fall towards the ground. And so then you can combine that, and they can make not just a circle, but actually like a figure 8 wrapped around you. So that's what we're going to do in the shoulder rolls. So let's do that for a second. So move the shoulder that goes with the front leg, and you can put your other hand on the collarbone so that you really feel all of that motion that's happening there. The shifting forward and back is just to kind of pump it, so that you really feel this going. But the motion in the shoulder is what's important. Don't confuse yourself and think that because you're moving the hand a bunch, that you're moving the shoulder. Beth at one point realized that if you sort of leave the fingers of the hand touching your thigh, that can really help keep from moving the hand too much. So move the shoulder around, really get it going. And now change the direction, so send it back, up over the top, towards your center in the front, down towards your hips. Really get it moving, and go ahead and feel with your other hand all of the motion in the shoulder there. It really helps to understand what our bodies are doing, because the body is very good at doing what we tell it to. And if we have a clear idea of how it works, we're much better at giving it clear instructions. If we have a confused idea, then the body will do its best to follow the instructions we're giving it, but they're confused. Okay, and now do it on the other side. Feeling the collarbone, feeling the shoulder, and really feeling it move. It comes towards your center line, it goes towards your ears, it goes towards your spine, it drops down. Let the fingers be long, just hanging on your thigh. Make sure it's the shoulder that goes with your front leg. So we're just really trying to get a lot of mobility in there, so that you're aware of how much motion there is in the shoulders. Okay, and now reverse and go the other direction. Really feeling what the body is doing. Getting your X-ray vision tuned so that you can actually see the bones inside your body with that X-ray vision and see them moving. Okay, and now do both of them. And so they do the same thing. You're going to sit up and down, bring the shoulders forward, bring them up, bring them towards the spine, let them drop. So really go ahead and move them. Keep the fingers on the thighs so that you move the shoulders, not the elbow and hand. Of course they move too, but it's easy to end up moving your elbows and your hands and not doing much with the shoulders. And now go the other direction, towards the spine, towards the ears, towards the sternum in the front, towards the hips. Laying 2 figure 8s around your body. Okay, one more rotation, and great. So that's a nice little exercise to actually get all of this stuff moving. When you first do it, you may hear a lot of snapping and popping and crackling. That's totally normal. And if you hear it, don't worry about it. If you don't hear it, don't wish that you heard it. But don't be, alarmed if you get the packing material sound while you're doing it. And I just want to do this in order to get the shoulders really moving. So we're going to work on 4 corners. And I want to just run through it a couple times. I'm not going to do form up through there, just in the interest of time here, so we can actually spend more time working on 4 corners. But let's take it from single whip and go ahead, just do 4 corners. Sit back, turn your waist, shift and turn, step, shift, ball of air, coming up, continuing to let the shoulders sink even as the hands go high. Sitting back and turning. Shift, ball of air. Step to the new corner, hands come up, turn. Sit back. Step. Ball of air. Hands come up, but shoulders stay sinking. 4th corner. And again, single whip. And go ahead. Great. So on Tuesday, we spent a bunch of time on this same shoulder stuff and working on the way that you want to feel that even when the hands are up high, it's as if the arm is just hanging. So the motion here in the arm is going down away from the fingers, not pushing up. So it should feel like it's hanging. One of Yang Cheng Fu's 10 essential points is that the shoulders should sink, so the shoulders drop down towards the ground, and the elbows should hang. Hang means hang away from something. Sink means drop towards something. And so that difference in direction is important. It's not that you're trying to push the elbows down. That would mean sinking and trying to send them towards something. What you're wanting is that it feels like the elbows hang away from the shoulder, so as if the upper arm gets longer, or in a case where the fingers are up, that the elbow hangs away from the hand. And when you do that, you'll be able to get into the final postures here without ending up with this thing that takes you out of the ground. So we spent time on that on Tuesday, so you can go back and look at that. Elsewhere in all of our videos, we've spent time on the specific postural details of four corners. So if you have confusion about any of that, ask us a question or go back and find those videos and look at them. I don't want to spend a lot of time today on that. What I wanted to spend time today on is not holding and freezing our movement. Our teacher Jane used to use four corners as an example of the koan of hands don't move, hands never stop moving. And so this is kind of all motion comes from the dantian, turn the waist, rooted in the feet, directed by the waist, release through the legs, directed by the waist. It's one of those. And what you want to have happen is that the hands don't ever become just stationary. Now, stationary means that nothing is changing, not that the hands don't stay in space in the same place. Because, for example, coming out of ward off left, my top hand, when I do this, pretty much does stay in space. I don't carry it with me as I come forward and get ready to go into ward off right. So there's times in the form where apart from your body, a hand will stay in the same point in space, but in order to do that, everything needs to be changing in the arm. And if you don't do that, then the hand would come with you. And four corners is a place where there's lots of change going on, and because the move is so difficult, we will often freeze it in order to make something work. So, for example, if I'm coming out of one of the corners here, and I'm about to take the big step, when I do that step, there's a real tendency to freeze the arms and step. And when I'm doing that, I want everything to be changing. I don't want to freeze the arms. As I step, I want constant change happening in the arms. And then I come forward. And if I'm sitting back and turning, again, there's a real tendency to freeze. Everything stays frozen as I turn. And that's not what we want to do. That is when Jane is saying, hands don't stop moving, hands don't move. Don't stop moving means that they don't just stay frozen and welded to you. They need to be changing all the time there. Hands don't move means you don't do it yourself. So you don't just move your hands without anything happening in the waist. So let's do four corners again. And I want you to notice that at every instant of it, there's little change happening in the hands. It could just be that the hand is turning over. It could be like coming out of the second corner. As I step, the hands need to make a change there. So I don't just come back from the second corner, freeze, step, shift, make a ball of air. So all the way through there, hands don't move, hands don't stop moving. So let's give it a shot from single whip. Okay, go ahead. Notice how the left hand is changing, and the right hand. And both hands. First corner. Okay, as you turn, keep the hands changing. And as you step, let them respond to the step. Sitting back. As you step, let that also change the hands slightly. Okay, and now because this is probably what you do, because it's what I do when I'm not paying attention to it, I want to do it again and freeze the hands. And so some of the places we're going to freeze the hands are when we're just coming out of the first corner and you sit back, then just turn with nothing happening, so that all the change happens when you shift the weight. And then when you take the big step, hold on to this thing and step without letting them move, rather than letting them be part of the whole step as you go through that. So, go ahead and let your inner freeze come out this time. So, sit back and turn. Okay, this is an easy place to freeze it. As you step, hands just welded to the body. First corner. Sit back, and now keep the hands unchanging as you turn. And then have everything happen as you shift. Hold on to this ball of air and step. Second corner. Sit back. Okay, hold on to the arms as you step. And then ball of air. Sit back. Hold on to the arms as you turn. And then all the change happens at once. Hold on to that ball as you step. And then shift. Okay, let's let go of all of that and do it once more with change. And go ahead. As you turn, feel change happening in both hands. As you sit back, and now especially here as you turn to step. It's a small change, but it plays out in the hands. First corner. Sit back. Okay, now as you turn, notice that both hands are turning. So the left palm turns palm up, the right palm is facing, the right palm turns palm up, the left palm faces the body. Ball of air, and as you step, before you step, make sure that everything is loose. And as you step, let that play out in the arms. Very small change. Second corner. Sit back, make sure the arms are soft, so that as you step the right foot, they change. Third corner. See if I can get my hands right this time. Sit back. Okay, as you turn, the right palm is going to turn up, the left palm is going to rotate to face the body. And then shift, ball of air. Hands are loose, so that when you step, they reflect that. They're no longer exactly the same as they were. Hands don't move. Hands never stop moving. So the change that I got the hands wrong on is this one for the big steps. You sit back, and when you sit back, if I do it like this, when I sit back, my right palm is down, my left palm is vertical, and as I turn, the left hand is going to turn to face me, so that I'm looking at the palm, and the right hand is going to turn so that the hand is palm up. So they didn't move very much. It's not a big thing, but they both change as I do this, and then they both relax into the ball of air. So let's do it again, and then I think I've got one more thing to look at, and then I'll turn it over to Beth. So, hands don't move, hands never stop moving. Go ahead. Hands change. This change is obvious as you sit back. The next one is smaller. Right palm turns up, left palm turns to face the body. Hands change as you take this step. Let the hands change as you step. Sit back. Right palm is going to rotate. Left hand changes to face the body. Great. So, if you really look at it and you find the places where you freeze in order to make it work, those are places that you can then let thaw and become free moving. So noticing the freezing, while it's unpleasant and aesthetically distasteful, is your chance to notice that you're doing that and change. And it's so much nicer when you can change. Now the reason we freeze is because the move is hard. And so we're trying to simplify, right? I'm here and I need to do something, and so I lock all this stuff in place so that I can really think about my waist. Or it's time to take the step. I lock all of this in place so that I can try to take that step. And as opposed to letting everything be free moving so that every bit of the step actually changes what else is going on. That's more difficult. There's more moving parts. And so your balance has to be better, your motions have to be clearer. So when you find yourself freezing like that, you're doing it because you're trying to simplify what's going on. And so instead, try to let it be relaxed and free moving, and let yourself fail, invest in loss, let yourself not get the step right in order to do that, right? If I'm all concentrated on, I must move my leg, then I'll hold on to the rest of it. If I say, you know what, if I mess up and I have to take a couple steps, then I give myself the freedom to let the rest relax. Okay, so the piece I want to look at is going into the first corner and going into the third corner. So I'll face you for this. I sit back, I turn. Look at that, of course this hand changed, right? I sit back, it's palm down. As I turn, it comes up. This hand is an example of one of the hands that didn't move in space. But the shoulder changed. As I did this and I turned towards it, my shoulder is closing even as the hand doesn't come with me. If instead I'm welded here, then the hand moves. So that's not what I want. I want to sit back, turn, shift, and now it's this part right here. A lot of times this is one where people just weld and step. As you do this, allow this motion of stepping to play out through the hands so that you really feel that there's a motion there that plays out through the hands. And then you're going to go into the first corner. The same thing happens between the second and third. So I'm in the second corner. I sit back, and now it's tempting to weld the arms and just move the foot. Maybe the arms come with the waist. But see how nothing's changing in my hands as I do this. So when I sit back here, as I do this, it's a shape like this that makes me step. Things come in and I step, and that's reflected in the hands too. So it's little, but as I do this, my elbows are going to come in a little closer to me, and the hands are going to rotate a little bit. So that motion there plays out through the whole body rather than fixing the hands and stepping the foot. So let's do those two. Then we'll do four corners once more, and then I'll turn it over to Beth. Single whip. Sit back. Turn. Shift and turn. Okay, stop here before you step. Feel where your hands are. And as you step, feel that plays out to the tips of the right fingers. And bring the foot back. So before you've stepped. That'll turn the hands again. And do it again. Turn and step. Feel that play out to the right fingers. Once more. Turn and step. Feel that play out to the right fingers. And go ahead. Ball of air. Corner number 1. Sit back. Okay, your arms are going to change all the way through this. Right palm turning up, left palm turning to face the body. Relax into a ball of air. As you step, the ball of air is going to change. Small amount of change, but changes. Second corner. Sit back. And now think about this motion that comes in and goes out. As you do that, the elbows come close, the foot steps, you feel out to your fingers. And third corner. Sit back. As you turn, right palm turns up, left palm turns to face the body. Relax into the ball of air, which is not static. So as you take the big step, the ball of air changes. The fourth corner. So that going into the first corner and going into the third corner are really pretty similar. You know, I've sat back here and I make this shape, and that shape plays out. It brings my elbows in a little bit closer. It turns my hands and I feel out to my fingers. When I do the first corner, I sit back. I'm here. I make a real similar shape. And I feel it play out to my fingers. So let's do 4 corners, all of it once more. Hands don't move. Hands never stop moving. And go ahead. Okay, now it'll be Beth. But the thing I want to say is this koan of hands don't move, hands don't stop moving is exemplified in 4 corners, but of course it applies to the whole form. So you can use 4 corners to find the places where you weld, where you hold on in order to try to make it simpler, and you can teach yourself to relax and get more mobile, and then correct one move, correct them all, apply that all the way through the form. And here's Beth.
So one of the things about keeping everything open and free and moving is that we often get a little too stuck to the ground and thinking that we have to kind of get down. And I want to remind you about the suspended head top. We started out doing the bear with that idea in mind. And there's a place in Chung Man-ching's writings where he says, as for riding the wind, how about suspending the head top? So there's a sense of this riding by keeping your head top suspended. So this will help you keep your hands moving. This isn't something different. This is just a different view on the same idea of being mobile, being free moving, not welding and holding things stiffly. And it all starts by having space all the way through the body. So just a brief reminder of what suspended head top means. It's the rear crown of your head that you want to suspend. That will change the orientation of your head a little bit. So it's sitting on this rocker at the top of your spine, and you know, your head can bobble back and forth. And what you want to do is not pull your chin in. Don't think lateral. Don't think, oh, I need to bring my head back. Think about actually taking the whole skull and just letting it rotate a little bit so that the back of your head here, if you're just walking around, is back here, kind of horizontal. And then when you want to suspend the head top, remember that it's this place here, and so it has a little bit of this. So see how it changes, not because the head is moving this way, but because the whole thing is rebalancing a little bit. That will make your chin a little bit drop, and more importantly, it will open the base of your skull here, the place that the Chinese call the jade pillow, the little indent there, right at where there's a hole kind of that you can put your finger into where the skull comes to the top of your spine. And go ahead and find that place. You can press on it and move your head around so that you feel it. And then notice that when you put your head so that the top of your head, this is what we call the charm school place where you would balance a book, that when you do that, now feel the jade pillow place and see if you can rebalance your head so that the whole thing rotates just a little bit, and feel how that opens your jade pillow. And then do the thing that tends to happen when we work on this, which is pulling the chin down and back, and feel how that stretches it across the jade pillow and kind of closes it back up. So you want that open feeling there. And another way to think about it is that the tops of your ears are pointing straight up. So when you're just walking around normally, your tops of your ears might be a little bit angled. And when you rebalance your head, it will make them be more pointing upright. So you want to get this feeling, because that's how you can ride the wind and suspend the head top. And what happens, now stand here just in a, say, 50-50 stance, and move your head around and notice what happens in your feet. So feel really planted to the ground and rebalance your head so that it gives you more space. Your jade pillow is open, it opens the channels all the way down to the ground. Everything kind of feels more open. And now kind of let your head hang forward a little bit and feel how that actually takes you out of the ground. It pulls my weight forward, and I lose my good connection to the ground. And then if you try and pull your chin back, that doesn't do it either. That just puts a lot of tension all up through here. So find the place that you really can hang from the rear crown of your head, and everything is open and hanging down. So that feeling, I think, will give us more room for this nice mobile quality in the arms, so that the arms are not held and they're not doing, but that the whole body has the freedom to make the movements. So let's give this a try. And everything Lee was just working on is what we want to keep working on. But just keep returning to the feeling of the suspended head top so that everything is hanging and you have more space inside for this freedom. So as you're standing here, get yourself in a good posture and get your head where you feel the openness. It'll run all through the body, and let that be your guide. Don't worry about anything else. Just let that freedom play out so that your arms never stop moving and are not what you're moving. And go. So this turning, suspended from above. Stepping, head top suspended. There's room for your arms to change because you're suspended from above. Feeling spacious, riding the wind, and the arms will also ride the wind. And rest your legs. So this head thing is really difficult. Our heads are heavy and they tend to either fall forward, or if you're short like I am, I'll often notice that I'm kind of looking up at the world, and so I've got my head pointing up a little bit, and then it wants to hang forward, and so rather than just kind of being here, it ends up over there. So there's a lot of places that our heads can get in the way and throw us off. And that's not even getting into how what's inside our heads can get in the way and throw us off. So you don't have to get this perfectly. It's hard. But a little bit of awareness of the up that's what you're hanging from, and feeling that play out through your body should help. So let's do it again and just try to feel that spaciousness that comes from hanging from above the suspended head top. So get your stance someplace where you can really feel the head as if you're hanging from above. And begin. Notice how that feeling helps you turn, helps the arms stay free. Suspended and free. Arms just riding with the spaciousness, and so they can change easily in response to what everything else is doing. And rest your legs. One of the challenges with this is, I think there's a certain amount of trust that we have to have in our feet, and this move has a lot of complicated footwork, and it can be a little hard to actually trust it. I mean, yeah, sure, you trust your feet, but there's an element of wanting to watch the ground to get your feet where they need to go. So don't worry about where your feet need to go. Just your gaze will be just below like the horizon, so it'll just drop a little bit, I don't know, 5-10 degrees, something like that. So notice whenever you start watching the ground. I know I have this problem, so that's why I know about it and can offer it to you too. Notice when you start looking down at the ground, and it will get in the way. It will close off the freedom that you have to move, that suspending the head top will actually return to you. So let's do it again, and just keep noticing if you're starting to look down, and that feeling of trusting that your feet will go to a good enough place. Don't worry about if they're not doing it perfectly. Do try to aim to the corner, but don't get obsessed about where your feet are, because that tends to bring everything down like this, and it tends to solidify our arms and make us hold on because there's so much happening down at the feet. So let your feet just respond to the riding the wind aspect of it. So again, find a good position. Feel that there can be an open quality through the body. Notice where you put your head, how that relates to feeling open channels through the body. Notice where your gaze goes, and get yourself into position. And begin. Trusting your feet. That gives you space for your arms to authentically follow your movements. And for the body to stay open. Hands keep moving, hands don't stop. And as you notice your head getting off kilter, get it back on. So now I want to do, I don't know how many, some number of rotations of four corners. So what will happen is we'll start at the beginning with single whip, and then we'll just keep doing four corners. So when we get to the last one, we'll just treat it like going between 2 and 3, and do this and move on back to corner number 1, only now it'll be number 5, and we'll run through the whole thing again. So we can do a lot of rotations of four corners, which is really fun, and you can bring your awareness to different aspects of it. Do try to follow that koan, hands don't move, hands never stop moving, and let the suspended head top riding the wind give you the freedom through the whole body so that you can keep moving and have it, the arms move naturally. And we'll just do this continuously. So begin. Arms are not held. Head is suspended. There's constant rebalancing and changing. Remembering to breathe, relax, and keep moving. Now it's just like going from 2 to 3. And it's another round. And another round. Hands don't move. Hands never stop moving. Reflecting the motion that runs through the whole body. Another round. Letting the head be in a soft and suspended place. And letting that play out through the whole body so that you're free and your arms can move easily, your waist turns, and your hands keep moving. And another round. Shoulders are free, arms rebalance, head balanced nicely on top. Open channels down to the ground. And notice where your gaze is. Any desire to look down at the ground in front of you and watch your feet can be offset by remembering to be suspended. Noticing the places that Lee brought up where we tend to hold our arms. So the arms are free here. They change as you change. Let the arms reflect your movement. And we'll do one last round of this. I haven't been counting, maybe Lee has, and we'll know how many corners we've done. Head top suspended, body open, hands don't move, hands never stop moving. And hold it there. And rest your legs. Lee says either 36 or 40. So we'll call that a whole lot of corners. And I think we can finish it up. And thanks for playing along.